Hey everyone, happy Friday. We are in for another edition of Quarantine Kitchen Cocktails. We're doing whiskey today. So we are going to do a bourbon cocktail that is going to be a refreshing shaken cocktail, and we're going to be doing a rye cocktail that's going to be a stirred and boozy cocktail. So both bourbon and rye are whiskeys. So whiskey is an umbrella category. So bourbon, rye, Tennessee whiskey, Scotch, Irish whiskey, Canadian whiskey, all these things are distilled from a fermented grain mash and then aged in a wooden barrel, more often than not oak. So let's dive right into our cocktails. We're gonna do a Manhattan, a classic cocktail over here, featuring High West Double Rye. So this is a blend of two different ryes, very spicy, a lot of cinnamon notes, a lot of good depth of flavor, which is what we want in rye. We like rye because of the spice notes, and it is the classic style of whiskey that goes into a classic Manhattan. So 2 ounces of High West Double Rye, 1 full ounce of sweet vermouth. So if you have a bottle of sweet vermouth at your house that has been festering in your cupboard for a couple months or longer, you want to get rid of it. And vermouth is wine-based, so when you're not using it, you want to keep it chilled. I would recommend Cocchi di Torino, Italian sweet vermouth, premium sweet vermouth. It's going to run you about $17.99 to $19.99 and fantastic vermouth. And if you're making a Manhattan with a great whiskey and an okay to cheap vermouth, you're gonna be the sum of those parts, which will be somewhere in the middle, airing towards the lower side there. So don't cheap out on the vermouth. Then we're gonna do two dashes of bitters. So an aromatic bitter in here. So I'm using Fee Brothers whiskey barrel aged bitters, but if you have Angostura at your house, if you have Fee Brothers Old Fashioned, something aromatic like that, that is all gonna work. That is perfect. So 2 ounces, 1 ounce, 2 dashes on the bitters right there. So in your mixing glass, again, if you do not have a fancy mixing glass like that, use a pint glass, use any glass that can get chilled down. And we're gonna stir it. So why are we stirring it? Because we want to control the dilution. We want it to dilute just a little bit, but we want it to chill down. If you shake something, it's going to dilute faster, and you are going to get a lot more water in there from the ice breaking up. And we want that in some cases, but not in a stirred classic cocktail like a Manhattan or a martini or a Negroni or something like that. So if you can, chill your cocktail glass beforehand. If that is possible, you want to do that. So 3 ingredients, classic cocktail right there. The traditional garnish would be a cherry. Try not to use the nuclear red cherries we all grew up with drinking in Shirley Temples, but get something like maraschino cherries from Luxardo, brandy cherries from somewhere in the United States. Classic Manhattan there. We're going to jump over to bourbon. So we're going to be doing a refreshing sour style cocktail. So another classic, this is a whiskey sour. So Belle Meade Bourbon out of Nashville, Tennessee makes a fantastic bourbon that I love for sipping. I also love it for making cocktails. It's bottled at 90.4 proof. Fairly high on the rye mash bill in there, about 30%. So it's nice and complex and expressive. Fantastic for sipping and for cocktails. So 2 ounces on your bourbon right there. Then we are going to use a lemon juice. So either if you don't have lemons to squeeze at your house, I would recommend Santa Cruz. It's available at grocery stores around. If you are able to squeeze your own juice, always better to use fresh. But Santa Cruz is organic and not from concentrate is the key. All right, we're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce on that. And to equal that out, we're going to use simple syrup. So this is equal parts sugar, equal parts water. You can combine those in a pan on the stove, warm it up, not to boiling, equal parts, stir it, let it dissolve. And then after it cools down, you got sugar water. It's equal parts simple syrup. So 3/4 of an ounce of this guy. So 3-part cocktail again, 2 ounces, 3/4, 3/4. Right in there. So we're going to fill our shaker full of ice. Remember, when stirring or shaking, don't be afraid of using too much ice. You want the cocktail to chill down. Good seal, shake it. And you want to strain it. Anything, if you don't have a strainer or a fine strainer like I'm going to use to keep the ice crystals out of there, you're going to be fine. But if you can do it, at least use a strainer. You want to keep as much of that extra dilution out of there because the ice crystals will help dilute your cocktail a little bit more than I would like. If not, no worries on that. So you've got your base whiskey sour. Fresh ice. Do not use the ice that you just shook with because it's already been broken up and diluting. Fresh cold ice. The bigger cubes, the better if you have one of those big king cubes. Garnish it with, if you want to be fancy, with a lemon wheel. If you want to get super fancy, you could add a different bitters to this. You could add ½ ounce of your favorite fruit liqueur to it, or an Amaro, anything. If you want to go off the rails, use a different syrup. But here we go. We've got two classic whiskey cocktails. A very light, refreshing whiskey sour with Bellmead bourbon, and a classic stirred and boozy Manhattan using High West double rye. I hope you all dig in. Cheers. Have a great weekend.